He's the type of guy that you can just go up to him and have a chat to him. And he's happy to talk to the fans.
He was asking me about my cap, and
Asking you why you hadn't bought one from the shop.
He did. He genuinely did. He was like, "Why haven't you bought the Peaky Blinder kind of style cap?" I was like, "Tom, they're too expensive." I said it tongue in cheek, and he laughed. But he was asking me because I had a cap on the day. But no, really approachable, really nice. He's taking photos with everyone. He's got his security guard there, but he's still very open with people.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, Tom Wagner, our owner, has been fairly high profile recently in terms of his meetings with the government and the council about the new sports quarter, etc. And of course, we saw him at the Virtue Trophy final as well. But what's interesting is that now that as Blues fans, we've got to know him a little bit, haven't we, in terms of his character and the type of things he says about the club. And in this podcast, I just want to go through some of the things that he said after the Virtue Trophy final, just to get a bit of an insight into him and why he will not stop at anything for Birmingham City to succeed. So I'm going to read out the statement or some of the things that he said after the Virtue final, and then we'll have a quick chat about that in terms of what the key takeaways are and why Birmingham City fans should be really excited. So should I just go ahead and read a bit of the statement, what he said?
Go for it.
So this was directly after we just lost to Peterborough in the Virtue Trophy final. Anytime you're able to play at the home of English football, it's a historic event. For me, to be down on the field pitch is an unparalleled experience. But what really matters is delivering for our supporters, because we didn't do that today. We got work to do because this season's objective and longer-term objectives have not been met. I will promise every Blue Nose out there that I will not stop until we hit those objectives. I won't say word for word what I told the players. This is when he was talking to the players, and it was, after the final, as they were getting their losers medals. But it was a variation of my favourite acronym. It begins with an F and ends with an A, and we all know what that is. And because we've had an amazing season and we've achieved our two main objectives, which is promotion in winning the league. And he goes on to say we still have opportunity to make history with the points record and something that's never been done before. And just finally, he said, there's no guarantees in football. It's why we play the game. It's what makes the sport so exciting. We've won twice against this side and once from 2-0 down. So I think football won today. So he's obviously talking about the performance. He went on to say a number of other things, which I'm not going to talk about the whole statement, because he went on to talk about the revenue and about how that's going to give us a platform to build the team, etc. And he also talked about the Amazon documentary as well and what that can do for the club. But this is a bit I'll finish with, and we can start to discuss it. We need to learn to win at a higher level, and we need to find a way to prepare ourselves for an even higher level than that. There's a lot of work to be done. Yeah. Now, that was an interesting statement that he's made, and I think it gives us a bit of an insight into the man, his character, and the fact that he's a complete winner, and he's obviously got good plans for the club.
The one word that comes to my mind, Dad, in a positive way, I don't know whether I'm taking it too far, but he came across quite ruthless to me there. I think we're going to be quite surprised this summer with incomings and outgoings. I think, although he wouldn't have barracked the players on Sunday, because I think he's obviously thrilled that we achieved our objective with becoming champions of League One. But I think he would have definitely voiced his opinion to say that you've let the 50,000 travelling Blues fans down with that performance. I don't think he shies away from giving that opinion,
Yeah.
And what a great owner to get involved like that. I mean, he's rattled everyone up on social media. I don't know whether you've seen the reaction from him giving that team talk. I mean,
what's your thoughts on that?
I've saw comments from Plymouth fans, Oxford fans, obviously Peterborough fans. Fans of clubs you wouldn't even expect to comment on something from Birmingham City. So he's clearly, I think, if you're rattling up other countries, other teams, you're doing something right.
Yeah, well, exactly. But what's your thoughts on that? So when you saw that he was actually sort of really having a not a heated conversation, but he was really getting his point across.
It was emotional. It looked like a lot of emotion behind it. I liked it. I liked it. It shows an owner that cares. He's invested. And with all due respect, if we're going to cut it back to the simples, it's his money. He owns the club. He's pumping it in. He cares. He wants to win. And I think it showed that he really cares about the Blues fans, because he was genuinely disappointed. And in that post-match interview, Dad, I don't think you referenced it there, he said, someone said, "How did you feel about the game?" And he said it was a lot better before the game than the Blues
Yeah.
fans after the game. So
Yeah.
I think he understood how disappointed we would have been, not just with the result, but it was just the way we lost.
Yeah.
That it was that lack
Yeah.
of kind of passion and fire, and I think that wouldn't have sat right with Tom Wagner, and I think he let the players know that at the full-time whistle.
He's a winner, isn't he?
He's a
You know,
winner.
you can tell that in business. You know, he won't stop until he achieves all of his objectives. But looking at them when he was actually talking to the players, it's the absolute polar opposite of the previous owners. Faceless owners, no communication with the club. We have an owner who is visible, who's talking to our players. Obviously, he didn't share exactly what he said, but there would have been words of encouragement. But I bet there will be some guarded words about actually.
I'll bet.
You know, he wouldn't have actually said it, but he's sort of telling them like, we're going to succeed here. You could be part of this.
I reckon 80% of that talk, even 90% of that talk, was great season, you're champions, don't underestimate what you've achieved this season, but there's more to come, I want better, I want more. So the 20% would have been thriving for perfection. Tom Brady's a winner as well. He's won the Super Bowl many, many times. Tom Wagner's a winner in business. So when you surround yourself with these people, they expect the best. And he's just voiced his opinion to expect the best from the team and the players that he owns. I think it's great.
Well, he's given a message to the players, isn't he, when he's talking about we need to learn to win at a higher level. He's talking to the players.
Yeah.
He's talking to the manager. He's talking to everybody. And also as well, that tells me what's encouraging about that. He's thinking about we need to learn to. So he's thinking about the higher level already. We know that we're going to be at a high level next season in the Championship, but you know, Tom Wagner is saying, well, we've got to beat teams next year to get to where we want to do. That's a higher level, and we've got to learn. And now with Tom Brady involved, it's not just about the skill of the players; it's about the mentality, isn't it? The winning attitude. And I think this would have been a big letdown for Tom Wagner in that, you know, it's a big high-profile Wembley final. Yeah, it's not the FA Cup, it's not the Carling Cup.
And we lost it.
And we lost it, but that's the point, you see. So he's saying we need to win at a higher level.
Exactly.
And by doing that, I think he's talking to the players, saying, look, you know, basically, look, you know, guys, if you want to be part of this journey, you've got to be better than that, you know. And rightly so. I agree with you as well. He's the owner. He owns the club, you know, and you know, well, they don't own the club just yet. Obviously, we'll have the issue with them having full shares. I'd imagine that would have to happen pretty soon now.
They effectively do own,
they're in control
for
of
all
the
intents
club,
and purposes.
just to make that up, because we'll get comments saying they don't own the club, but actually they will do it at some point as well. And you know, his demeanour is that to everybody, it's positive, isn't it? It's we're going to win. And when you listen to him talk at any time, it's always very much, we're doing this and we're doing that. So I think that by talking to the players in that way, I think hopefully he got some of that across to them.
I bet he's like that in the boardroom, Dad, behind closed doors, you know, when they're discussing like signings or maybe bad results or where we can improve. I bet he's absolutely clinical in the boardroom, you know. You know, when, again, Gary Cook's left now, but you know when the border around him, the execs are in the room, maybe Chris Davies or, you know, Eustace or whatever from last season. You know, I bet he's a very, very clinical and efficient communicator as well, you know, in that regard.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the beginning as well, Matt, about how, you know, he has... you know, connected the fan base. He didn't actually say it in that way, actually, but he's an owner that
good way of putting it, though.
That cares. You use the word cares.
Yeah.
He cares about the club, and I think that makes a massive difference as well. Because we've met him in the fan park. Remember, said hello, had a photo with him, and you know, he's the type of guy that you can just go up to him and have a chat to him. And he's happy to talk to the fans.
He was asking me about my cap, and he
asking you why you hadn't bought one from the shop.
He did. He genuinely did. He was like, "Why haven't you bought the Peaky Blinder kind of style cap?" I was like, "Tom, they're too expensive." I said it tongue in cheek, and he laughed. But yeah, he was asking me because I had a cap on the day. But no, really approachable, really nice. You know, he's taking photos with everyone. He's got his security guard there, but he's still very open with people.
You see walking around the stadium sometimes,
owner.
you know, he'll talk to people, he'll have photographs and stuff like that. So he's also, you know, and that's another reason why he'll succeed at Birmingham City, because he's connected with the fans. You know, he's provided. He said he'd do this when he sort of first was introduced to the club, and he's connected the fan base to the club again and him, you know. So we feel that the ownership is part of us now, and that's made a big difference, hasn't it, in terms of the way we feel. And that's why another reason why we'll succeed, because if you get your fan base on board with what's going on at the
Yeah.
club. I mean, I could look at some other clubs and what's going on, in terms of like Sheffield Wednesday, for example. There, there's a lot of things on social
Reading.
media about. Well, Reading's a serious, very
Yeah,
serious
but the
case.
point is, though, there's clubs out there, Dad, that have been ran into the ground.
Yeah, and they feel that their ownership is not, bringing or taking the club forward. In fact, actually, in some cases, bleeding the club dry.
Yeah, yeah.
We used to have that. It's gone, and that's because of Tom Wagner and Knighthead and the ownership that we now have is absolutely brilliant.
And also, Dad, I just want to highlight, I'm sure you've probably got this on your list as well, but look at everything he's done from a commercial point of view, the sponsorships he's brought in. Birmingham City have some serious pull now. Obviously, we're sponsored by Undefeated, we have airlines, we have
Yep.
all these different great sponsorship deals, the improvements with the stadium, the new beers, the wall-to-wall and the carp. I could literally go on for probably half an hour and list all the things that he's done, which has improved this club. Obviously, we have the new stadium, which is massively on the agenda, which is creating quite a lot of excitement and jealousy, depending on where you look in the city. But yeah, what he's done has been up until this point fantastic, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't 4D chess. Tom Wagner didn't get relegated on purpose. But I actually think relegation wasn't the worst thing that happened. And we've managed to press the reset button. We've managed to start winning games consistently, which is great. We've managed to spend quite a bit that we probably maybe would have been borderline with in the Championship. We get to reset and go again in the summer. And I think this is just the start. We're going to get more partnerships.
Yeah.
We're going to get more revenue. We're going to get,
Well, actually, I'll touch on that, actually. That's a good little...
One final thing, Dad. I can't remember the last time me and you spent as much as we have in the club shop this season.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And at the club as well, because before we never had the fan zones. We'd literally come to the game, watch the game, and then leave.
Exactly.
Which like most clubs did. But you mentioned revenue, which is a good point. This is another thing for Birmingham City fans to be excited about. And I'll just give a snippet of what he said about that as well, which I think is very, very key to the way that he sees the club actually developing and moving forward. This is what he said also. People might say, why do you keep talking about the revenue side of things? But without revenue, we don't get the players. We are focused on making this a commercially viable club. I will not rest until we are the most powerful revenue-generating club in the Championship by a wide margin, including those who get parachute payments. And he then obviously spoke about the. I think in an interview I saw him talking about the just touching on the Amazon documentary and stuff like that. So there's a lot of revenue coming into the clubs, and he talked about there making the club not just commercially viable, but one of the most revenue generating clubs in the whole of the Championship.
I know.
And that has to be, when you think about the money that the parachute payments bring into those clubs, for us to generate that level of revenue, there must be so much work going on in the background.
Oh, yeah.
For these parts, you mentioned like Undefeated, Delta, and I can't even remember them all. We've got so many.
There's almost too many. Your mind goes blank, isn't there? And we've got the Amazon Prime documentary coming out as well. All these different things add to that revenue stream. The actual quality of the shirts. We've got a bespoke relationship with Nike. The stock in the kit shop's normally pretty good. There are a couple of items which are hard to get. I've always wanted the red hoodie. I know my sister Jo's wanted one of them as well. We can never get them. But generally speaking, the shelves are full. You can always get what you want, relatively speaking. It's good stuff. It's good quality stuff. All these things add to the whole fan experience. And the biggest thing for me, Dad, and you've highlighted it a minute ago, is going down to St.Andrews is now a pleasure. We can have a beer before the game if we want to. There's good food there. The atmosphere is incredible. In fact, there was a game a couple of weeks ago that I couldn't make because I had a family commitment with a christening, and my mum came. My mum is not into football whatsoever, but she commented on the atmosphere outside the stadium, didn't she? She said it's incredible. She goes, "There's a buzz there. There's an atmosphere there." And she doesn't even really like football, if we're going to be honest.
She was with me. She was with me. That's why.
The comedian. But the point is, she highlighted that it was. The build-up was great. So, all these things for me is the biggest thing is the match day experience is spot on.
It is. And, the way the club's moving as well, the revenue, again, just to go back to the revenue, it's really important because this is going to get us the players that we get. Because a lot of fans saw how much we spent in League One. And there was lots of, you're going to bridge. How can you do that without FFP? But they don't know what's going on in the background. It isn't just what you get through the gate, is it? I mean, that's just a small proportion. It's actually the revenue is what you generate in other areas. How much money do they spend on the ground as well to increase the hospitality as well? And that's sold out every game.
Also, I was staggered at how many people forgot that we sold players. We sold Jordan James for approximately, what was it, 5 million? The rumours are, there's never exact amounts these days, is there, on the announcements? But we sold Bakuna, we sold Miyoshi, we sold Siriki Dembele. So we actually got revenue in from the players that we sold. People seem to have forget that did we get 0 for them or something? It's really bizarre, isn't it?
You know, some fans from other clubs, and you know, will want to just you know, they'll look at it as from a very narrow viewpoint, and they will only see and hear what they want to see and hear. You know, and obviously, how can they not breach FFP and all this type of thing, which don't actually apply in League One? But I trust that the plan and the model that Tom Wagner and Knighthead have got for this club, they'll know how we keep within the financial boundaries. And you know, I think we're going to surprise a lot of clubs in the summer in terms of the signings that we'll make. We will spend money again. I'm sure there'll be some outgoings as well. But the income we've got generated now already in the club is getting to really, really high levels, and that's all because that would never have happened without Tom Wagner and Knighthead.
No.
Not a chance. And again, that's another reason why we should be happy as Birmingham City supporters. We've now got an owner that knows how to. He's got a business sense.
Yeah.
I mean, before it was. I mean, didn't Troy Deeney comment about they had to buy their own footballs in training?
Showers weren't working.
Showers weren't working.
Yeah, all sorts.
We know. We've seen it ourselves. Matt, the ground was falling to bits. You know, all the tilt and the bottom of the cop was closed for 2.5 years.
Yeah, it was awful.
I mean, it's crazy.
The seats were all watered down in the family stand. They replaced all those and all these things. And I was chatting to a guy outside Wembley, Dad, and we were talking about relegation, and we were talking about how actually it hasn't been the worst thing in the world, you know, winning mentality. I'm repeating myself from earlier a little bit. And he said that if we would have gone down with the previous ownership, it would have been how long do we last until we go into League Two? You know, because the investment would have been there. It would have been a race to the bottom, wouldn't it? You know, and we might have found ourselves in Reading's position. Fair enough, Reading were in the playoffs, so maybe an unfair comparison. But the point of the conversation was we would have been looking down, not up. Stuck in this league for quite some time, which would have been awful, wouldn't it? And that's no disrespect to League One. It really isn't. It's just we're not used to having the low block so much. So to be stuck in that division would have been terrible. But now things are looking up. We're back in the Championship. I think we're going to see huge investment, huge deals being made in the summer. And it's a great time to be a Birmingham supporter.
You know, and obviously, you know, Tom Wagner, you saw a glimpse of it after the Virtue final. You hear it when he speaks. He's all about success. And I guarantee you, anybody that works for him, I bet you he's like, you know, he's giving them targets. He's wanting people to achieve.
Oh, 100%.
The whole culture of the club has completely changed because of Knighthead. And everybody now is geared towards improvement and getting better in every aspect, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's not just the men's team. That's the women's team, the academies, the ground, the staff. Everything is much better now. The final point I want to touch on before we finish, Matt, is this comment that he made about achieving this season's objectives.
Yeah.
But he said that not all of them have been, and longer term objectives, but not all of them have been achieved. Do you think he was talking about, when he talked about it, it was a mixed statement between this season, I think, and longer term. But do you think there's any objectives that he was talking about that haven't been achieved this season?
He had to be alluding to the points record, didn't he? That has to be on his. Has to be on his radar.
That can be the only thing that's left, really.
Yeah, exactly. And unless he was quite literally referencing the loss in the Virtue Trophy final.
Unless there are objectives that we don't know about, where he's given his team like a certain amount of revenue targets that maybe haven't been achieved. I don't know. I'm guessing
because he's such a businessman, it's hard to know which metric he's on, isn't it? So is he talking about quite literally promotion, points records, trophies, or is he talking about revenue? Is he talking about goals for the players on the pitch? You know, he could be talking about any metric whatsoever. He's that business savvy, who knows? But I've got a feeling in my gut tells me he wants the points record. That's my gut.
Because that's the way I read into it as well.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got the sports quarter, which is progressing. I think he did make.
He could have been talking about progress on that.
Yeah,
who knows?
He did make a slight update. I read a few days ago about that, saying that things are going in the right direction, but now it's time for the government to take action and stuff like that.
Right.
So you know, he is an absolute winner, isn't he? And you know, we as Birmingham City supporters should be really excited about that, I think, and I have a lot of confidence now in where we are going forward next season. I'm looking forward to the summer transfer window, and you know, it's a completely different place to where we were 2 years ago before Knighthead came in. So it's really, really good. And so even though we did lose the virtual final, which obviously Tom wasn't happy with, and
rightly so with the way we lost it.
Yes, because I think we're a team of winners as well, and you know we've got the documentary as well that I think he's really excited about that as well. That's going to be interesting as well. I don't know much about how that brings in revenue, but I'm presuming that it would be a good revenue stream. But also, it's going to get exposure in over 200 countries for the club.
Exactly.
So
and also those sports documentaries are incredibly addictive. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a bit of the Tottenham one, the Wrexham one. I've seen quite a few of the sports documentaries, and they are quite entertaining. So I mean, the Mourinho and the Tottenham one used to crack me up. He was just hilarious. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see all the back. I mean, I wonder how much they shot of last season. You know, again, I don't want to name it. You know, the Rooney thing, Eustace Rooney, and the relegation, and how much they started in the build up to League One. It'd be interesting to know the timeline of that documentary, because they're gonna have to talk about last season. There's no doubt about it, because that was almost the start of the journey.
I think it will be about last season, because the information the club put out was that the cameras were following the club around. So
also, I would like to point out a little bit of credit to myself that I told you on a couple of occasions, didn't I? Those cameras aren't conventional cameras.
You did.
They were almost like
we mentioned it on a podcast what you did, and so obviously you said something was going on, didn't you? But I presume they couldn't really announce it because it's all they want it to be organic, don't they? So if people are aware of it, they're going to be. It's not going to be the same.
It was when we signed Stansfield, but he hadn't signed in time to play the game, so he came out on the pitch, and the camera following him was something that wasn't usually in the because I'm in this industry. I always follow the guys at the Blues and look at their lenses and their cameras. I'm a bit of a geek, and I saw the camera on the pitch. That isn't normal. So I guarantee there's footage of Stansfield on the pitch in that documentary. I'm putting my neck on the line now, aren't I? When he signed, that's going to make that documentary, no doubt about it. So yeah,
it's interesting, because when the club announced it, I don't think it would surprise anybody that there's a documentary, because obviously Tom Wagner Knighthead would have seen what's happening at Wrexham and stuff like that, and would probably want a piece of that pie, so to speak, for the commercial aspect of it.
I'd like to point out as well, Dad, when Wrexham announced their documentary, Tottenham, whatever club you want to pick, there's a bit of controversy, or there's a bit like that, but when Blues announce it, everyone piles in their opinion. It's like, what is it with Blues? Why do we rile everyone up? It's hilarious. But as Tom Wagner says, FEA, we don't care. We'll crack on, and exciting times for Blues, and can't be happier that Tom Wagner and Knighthead are at the helm.
Yeah, and I'm sure Blues fans will agree that things have changed completely. You only have to go down to St.Andrews to see the difference between what it is now compared to what it was just 12 months, 18 months ago, whenever it was. It's absolutely staggering, but we're in good hands. I think you'll all agree. And as Tom Wagner said, there's going to be a lot of controversy about our club from other fans, from the media, and they literally just want to put a target on our back. But just let them, just enjoy the ride and see what's going on at Birmingham City, and on the inside, as fans, we can see that things are getting really exciting and going in the right direction. But with Tom Wagner, at the helm, he's a proper businessman, and he clearly has got a plan, and there's nothing going to stop him fulfilling that. And we are part of that journey with him. But love to know what you think Blues fans, about the ownership and Tom Wagner, and where you'll think we'll be in a few years' time. Pop a comment below. We always are happy for your comments to see what you got to say and your thoughts and opinions are. So pop a comment below the podcast. As always, if you did like this podcast, then give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, then pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll see us on there as well now. And you'll see the handles appearing on the screen for all of these channels right now. If you haven't subscribed already and you'd like to, then press that red subscribe button. And if you want notifications every time we put a podcast out, there's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button. If you press that, you'll get a notification pop up on your phone or device each time a new podcast goes out. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.